Like, imagine the Universal executive who's like in his studio apartment smoking a cigarette, just watching tapes. And then he was like, whoa. Like, it probably took a drag and choked. He's like, what the hell is that? Someone get John Bloomfield on the phone. Stat.
Right? Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Podcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And I'm an American explorer who loves to hang out in the Egyptian tombs, Spencer Williams.
Oh, hello, Spencer.
Elizabeth, it's so good to see you. I feel like I say this every week, but it's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute. We've both been a little busy.
A little busy. I mean, I feel like, yeah, it feels like it's been longer than normal. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I got out into the yard today and was planning some things.
There you go.
And I'm very excited because 2 of my thyme plants came back. And for one of them, it is its second year coming back.
Nice.
I had a rosemary plant come back.
Okay.
My strawberries are spreading through my garden. I had 1 lavender plant come back for sure, although I had to like relocate it because it didn't have enough space. And then I have a second one I have like hope for. I think I just need to like trim it back and it'll be okay. But then like 2 years ago, I started planting chamomile and it's like really spreading this year. So
wow.
I'm proud of myself.
Elizabeth Joy Glass, she is a gardener, Mother Nature. I'm so proud of you. Theater costume designer.
I'm trying.
I was growing strawberries last year. No reason. I just thought I could do it. Mm-hmm. And I successfully grew 1 whole strawberry, but it is now dead. But
That's unfortunate.
I did give birth to 1 strawberry. So
hey, strawberry plants also take like a long time to produce a good yield. Because like last year I hardly produced anything. I think that was its second year. No, it was the second year for some of them, but then I planted more. And then this year I'd already seen it was spreading. So I was like, I'm just gonna let this do its thing. Yeah. And it seems to be like a little bit better this year. But apparently like they take a couple years to like actually produce good strawberries. I
love how the listeners are just gaining insight on all of our gardening misadventures. Like, you guys gotta get in a studio. What are you doing with all these plants? I've been trying to grow sage for like the past 3-4 years. My first year for some reason was my best year. Second year was a flop. We don't talk about it.
Yeah. Where do you get your plants? Or do you start them from seeds? I
try to start everything from seeds. I just want the satisfaction, and it's hard.
It is very hard. That's why I gave up on that.
Yeah.
I go to, and you gotta go local. I go to a local Amish nursery. It's been run by these Amish women for like 3 generations. So I'm like, they know what they're doing. So, and I always get quality plants for like a good price, and they work out really well. And they're like, I like to like get it local because I know it's going to be like okay in like the soil, and it's going to be like okay for our climate. So when buying plants, go local.
Right. I don't know of any local Amish communities that are selling plants, but I guess if you're listening to this podcast, feel free to hit me up.
Yeah. I mean, we just have a lot of Amish people here. You might just have like just farmers who have a nursery with plants as well.
Gotcha. Enough of this plant talk. For all those who aren't plant enthusiasts, I have a popcorn update, you know.
Yes.
Lots of stories happening at the movie theaters for me. So
this is exciting though.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've had a popcorn update.
Yeah.
So I figured out the loophole to get myself that small baby popcorn.
Yes.
I love just a little bit of popcorn. So I pre-order my popcorn I get the kids meal, right?
Nice.
So it's for a kid. Me, I'm the kid.
Hey,
so
if that's all you want, that's all you want.
So I go to see Star Wars The Phantom Menace for its 25th anniversary. Lots of 25th anniversaries, as we'll get into.
I need to decide if I need to go see that quickly in theater.
It's worth it. I had such a good time. I went by myself and got this kids meal. And the kids meal at this unnamed theater location, the kids meal comes with a small popcorn, and it comes with these fruit snacks called like Fruity Tooties.
What?
And and it comes with a drink. So I get that kids meal. And then it's like, do you want to upgrade your Fruity Tooties to like a candy or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I'll get like, this candy I wanted to get.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. And then I go over, but when I get there, I go straight to the bar and get myself like a
little
like
drinky.
Like an old fashioned or something. And I go over and pick up my kids meal, and I walk into the theater, and they didn't give me my Nerds gummy clusters. They gave me the Fruity Tooties.
How dare they?
As I started going to like my full Karen mode, getting ready to go complain, I realized I was a grown man asking why they gave me the Fruity Tooties as I was holding like a old fashioned in my hand.
Okay, Spencer, here's the thing. Yeah. These people don't know you. For all they know, you could be the father of a small child, because we're of an age where we could have small children. And you could have ordered that for your small child.
It's true. Very true. Except this theater, because I happen to produce a podcast that talks about movies and TV shows on a daily basis, I happen to frequent this theater about 3 to 4 times, basically in my pajamas, one step away from wearing Crocs with socks. I'm here on a pretty daily basis, so I can't pretend like I have a kid because they know I don't have a damn kid.
You don't need to say you have a child, but for all they know, you could be getting it for your child.
All that being said, I ate the $2 and I did not, in fact, get my Nerds gummy clusters, and I did eat the Fruity Tootie fruit snacks.
Well, I'm proud that you got the small popcorn that you wanted.
Yeah, thank you. And I tore up the small popcorn, and I didn't feel like I needed more. So
right? The small popcorn's good. It's very good.
It's the way to go.
It is. Speaking of Crocs, when did Crocs get cute? Because I saw some very cute Crocs sliders and like flip-flops. And I was like, what? Can I actually be comfy and cute this summer?
The way that Crocs are making a comeback is very terrifying to me. I saw some at Disneyland when I went with Chloe and Daniel. Yeah. There were some like haunted mansion Crocs. Gotta say, I was like, well,
like I'm not here for like the clog Crocs.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to wear those in your home and in your garden, I get it. Like I get that. You go for it. You be comfy. I don't get why people wear them in public. I don't know. Maybe that's just like millennial trauma from when they were like so unpopular.
Right. Elizabeth and I would get beat up in high school if we wore Crocs. You know?
I remember my mom got Crocs and I was like, oh my gosh, you got Crocs.
Yeah, like I'm gonna disown my own mother over these shoes.
But they came out with like their Miami collection. And I was like trying to get like the Payless BOGO. I couldn't for them because they were new. But I was like, for my job, I'm on my feet a lot. So I'm like, my feet hurt all the time. And like, I just want my feet to be comfy. So I'm like, I need to try these cute Crocs.
Elizabeth, I hate to say it, but I think you and I are starting to get to an age where we just enjoy comfort. I don't know. I think we're starting to get there.
I know.
Well, one person who has not enjoyed Crocs or slides It would be a mummy
Imhotep.
named Imhotep.
Everyone, this week we watched one of my top 10 favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
The Mummy from 1999.
I'm so excited. It is celebrating the 25th anniversary. I kid you not, Elizabeth and I have been flirting with the idea of doing a Mummy episode since day one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that's really like held at least me back from doing it is the lack of research for The Mummy, because unfortunately The Mummy was produced before a time when people were interested in interviewing costume designers in depth. So unfortunately, not a lot of facts this episode, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's The Mummy. So Elizabeth and I both went to the theaters, separate theaters, and we got to see The Mummy again. I went with our dear friend Natalie, who's been on the podcast. She showed up in her Evie cosplay, which was a lot of fun. And I swear, this movie holds up every single time. There's not a dull moment in this movie. The acting's great. The special effects are amazing. It's just a 10 out of 10 film. I have to say it's probably in my top 10 also.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun with just a really good production behind it. The acting, set design, costumes, obviously, like it's just all really top tier, and it's just really fun. You just get to relax.
And it definitely scratches that archaeologist part of your brain that I know you have.
Oh, yeah. I, as a child for a long time, I thought I was going to be an archaeologist. And then I was watching the History Channel, and they were in some like ancient structure, and they had to like slide their bodies. They're like talking about this thing and sliding their bodies in between these two walls. And it's like these people barely fit. And I was like, that was the end of my my ambitions to be an archaeologist, because I was like, oh my gosh, what if the ceiling falls in? What if the wall collapses? They're gonna die.
Okay.
And I was like, I will enjoy this from afar. Good luck to all of you. All of you archaeologists out there, good luck.
Yeah, leave it to Indiana Jones, I guess. Well, Elizabeth, I'll start off with a summary so we can get into it, because I think we have a lot to say.
Oh, yeah.
At an archaeological dig in the ancient city of Hamunaptra, librarian Evelyn, bubbling brother Jonathan, an American serving in the French Foreign Legion, Rick O'Connell, accidentally awaken a mummy who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long-lost love. And that is The Mummy, 10 out of 10 script. I'm telling you.
Yeah. If you haven't seen The Mummy, like, this is actually, I'm going to say this is a good hot girl summer movie as well. Like, if it hadn't been for the 20th anniversary, probably would have made it into hot girl summer. Yeah. So, like, as we enter into this sunny, fun, relaxing time of the year, if you just like need a little movie, or it's a rainy day and you need to bring some of that like summer sunshine into your life, put this movie on. Yeah. It's going to hit every time.
It's going to hit. Sit outside with a glass of lemonade, watch The Mummy. For all my bisexual friends out there, I feel like it has a little bit of everything for you.
Yes.
You got
absolutely.
Evie. You got Rick O'Connell. Don't even get me started about Anck Su Namun. I mean, it's just everything about this film is hot, and just A+.
A+, including the costumes. Let's go behind the costumes with director Stephen Sommers and costume designer John Bloomfield. His notable work includes The Six Wives of Henry VIII miniseries, for which he got a BAFTA win, Conan the Barbarian from 1982, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, for which he got another BAFTA nomination, Waterworld, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, for which he got an Emmy nomination, The Mummy Returns, The Scorpion King, and The Water Horse.
Oh, that's quite a lovely resume there.
Right?
Aside from the Mummy films, which I actually love all of them, if we're going to just be real. I love Waterworld too. That's a good movie that I feel like isn't talked about as much. Waterworld's good fun.
I have not watched Waterworld.
This is what I'm talking about.
I know. I need to see it. I have seen Robin Hood. I have seen Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And if you just want to like kind of be confused by a movie, but also have a good time, it's a great watch.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a really great watch. And, you know, he has been in the game for a very long time. Also, his wife, Anne, has also been in the game for a long time. And they met while working at the Birmingham Repertory Theater in 1961, where Anne was an assistant stage designer, and he was working part-time as a stagehand and carpenter while studying law at Birmingham University.
Ooh.
And it's so cute. He's they've done a couple interviews like since they've retired, and he was like, yeah, it was just like basically like a love at first sight. Like, I knew this is who I was going to be with. And like working there, he literally like changed the course of what his career was going to be. He's clearly not a lawyer.
Right.
Never became a lawyer. Changed that up real quick. And while like after they got married and started a family, she took away like a step away from costume design herself. But he says she was always there. She was always supporting him. She actually did a lot of illustrations for him, or they did the illustrations together. And he's like, I can tell what I did on an illustration and what she did, because he's right-handed. She's left-handed. So I'm like, that is so cute to like find your person and be like, oh, like, let's work together. Let's make the best of like every situation.
That's so sweet. So are we looking at the illustrations from The Mummy that they both worked on together?
Yes, we are.
These are so gorgeous.
Aren't they?
For those of you that aren't listening, but I implore you to check out our YouTube the next day on Wednesdays. We're looking at 2 illustrations of Evie and Rick O'Connell that the Bloomfields worked on together, and they are gorgeous illustrations.
They are gorgeous, and she's amazing. She taught at the Wimbledon School of Arts, which is apparently now part of the University of London, for 25 years, starting in 1967. And they said like one of like the fun parts about like watching like newer shows or movies is she'll be like, oh, my student worked on that. Like, oh, like I remember working with them. Oh, that was my student. Like, it's so cute the way she talks about her students.
I love that.
So adorable. But getting into The Mummy, filmscouts.com quotes John a little bit about kind of the historical origins or lack thereof. He said, Stephen's interest in the costumes was not so much from a character point of view or in terms of accuracy. He wanted the whole thing to look good and to look right. I'm not saying the costumes aren't accurate. I'm just saying that what you look for is the thing that will best sell your point of view in the story.
I get you, John. I get what you're saying. Sure, maybe it wasn't 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It's still accurate, but we wanted these two to look good, and that's what we did.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast with him and his wife, and he was like, you know, I did a lot of research. He's like, for The Mummy, I did do a lot of research, because he was like, if you break the rules without doing your research, he's like, that's just ignorance.
Yeah.
But if you know what the history is, what the rules are, what the look is, and then you break it because it's what works for the story or the character, he's like, that's costume design. And I was like, yes, sir.
I love that. That's a good quote. I'm gonna get that like printed and put above my bed.
Right. Yeah. Anyone who complains about not historical accuracy in costume design, rethink.
You do the research
stance.
and you're good in my book.
Yeah. But Spencer, are you ready to jump into the Mummy after a little breaky break?
I am so ready. Let's take a break and get into it before all those flesh-eating beetles get in here.
Jump into this by first discussing my favorite toxic couple, which I didn't realize how problematic their relationship was till watching this movie in the theaters. And I was like, oh wait, hold on.
Are you talking about Imhotep and Anck Su Namun?
Yes.
Imhotep. That's my favorite part of the whole movie. Yes. I too, watching this for the 1 millionth time, I was like, wow, this was a relationship really based on some rocky turbulence here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I have to say, Arnold Vosloo as Imhotep,
chef's
incredible.
Kiss. Yeah.
Incredible.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about it, except it's just so great. And I love his costumes. Well, okay, first of all, we see Imhotep in lots of costumes.
Yeah.
The first one, before we see him in his like costume that we really get to know, I love seeing him in that black costume where he's meeting that American guy for the rest of like his
face mask.
With the mask giving like a full Bellatrix Lestrange Death Eater look. It is so, this time I watched it, I was like, that is a sick costume.
Right?
And I cannot believe no one suspected that Imhotep was under that mask.
Right. I loved how like when he's having tea with poor Mr. Burns, like Mr. Burns goes to try and like shake his hand, and I feel like he moves to kind of like, oh yeah, shake your hand, and then he's like, oh no, never mind, because Benny intervenes because he's like, dude, he's gonna realize you're the mummy if you touch, like, stop.
Yeah, but once Imhotep gets all of his parts back, then we see him come into this really kind of gorgeous, like, I don't even know what you call it. It's kind of like a cape or a cloak, but it's like very see-through and kind of breezes in the air. And of course, Arnold is always just giving full chest, just looking amazing at all times. It's a lot. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah. It is a lot. And it was a lot for him to wear this. Arnold spoke to Newsweek about his costume for the mummy, saying, I never for a second thought I was going to be in like a super revealing outfit. I had this belly and they put me in this damn G-string. Which, poor Arnold, he ended up having to he did like a whole workout routine. They shaved his body every single day.
Wow.
He was like a makeup girl, like came and like he was like, I made jokes at first because it was like really awkward, but he was like, by the end of it was like routine, and I just like came in and stood there while people shaved my body.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you're signing up to be Imhotep in a mummy movie, you probably weren't thinking like, oh, it's gonna be very kind of sexy, like right out of the sarcophagus, getting shaved and makeup and all that. But I mean, he turns it out.
He does. And I was watching, because I have the DVDs, so I was watching the behind the scenes, which is literally all about the CGI. And I will say that's like the one thing in the movie, when I saw it on the big screen, I was like, okay, the CGI is a little dated.
The CGI is corny, but like,
yeah,
we love it for it, you know?
It was like 1999, and it was done by ILM, and they were doing The Phantom Menace at the time. So I'm like, I feel like all their good people were on The Phantom Menace and everybody else was on The Mummy.
Right.
But he came in and he was like, okay, I have to do a whole bunch of this, you know, new weird like motion capture and like working with you know, animation. Like, he was doing a job that was not common at the time.
Yeah.
They were literally filming The Lord of the Rings when this came out.
Wow.
So, like, there wasn't even like Gollum, which I'm sure became a big reference as this became more common. Like, he had little to no reference for what this process entailed, and I'm sure he did not think it entailed him showing off the majority of his body.
Yeah, which we're thankful for. But yeah, no, I gotta agree though. Yeah, I feel like the CGI and the effects and whatnot, for it being filmed, you know, around 1999, taking place during this time, I still feel like it looks incredible, which is really, really awesome, and why I love it so much. Because to me, I mean, this could have been 2010 or whatnot. Like, I just feel like it really still steps up.
Yeah, I felt like it was the most dated part of the movie, but like, yeah, it still absolutely worked.
If anything, the special effects get worse in the second film, but I guess we'll save that for another episode. A lot of things get worse in the second film. I like the second film.
It does have its issues. Yeah. I like the second film too, and I wasn't sure we would do it until in one of these interviews, John Bloomfield said The Mummy Returns was one of his favorite projects to ever work on. So
okay.
Like, okay.
We'll talk about it. But I included some pictures for everyone watching on YouTube, but also for Elizabeth. These Universal Studios like costume archive shots of Imhotep's costume. I have a few of them throughout the episode, but I just love looking at the fabrics of Imhotep's robe because I can't figure out what it is, but it's just so stunning. But
it is beautiful.
It somehow looks very rich and elegant, but also looks dated and almost kind of like it's decaying or disintegrating in a way.
Like, I feel like it's probably like a gauze, like some sort of silk gauze. But I also love seeing these photos because like the movie is like pretty darkly lit.
Yeah.
And in the movie, this looks like much more solid, which I've always kind of been confused by because like the way it moves is gorgeous. So seeing this, I'm like, okay, it's made out of a very flowy material, even though like in the movie, it looks much more solid. Like you can't really see through these gauzy parts in the movie the way you can in these images.
Right. Yeah. Gorgeous costumes. I would love to see these in real life. I want to touch them.
Universal, a Mummy and Mummy Returns little exhibition would be nice.
Please and thank you. And it needs to include one of my favorite costumes worn by the Patricia Velasquez as Anck Su Namun.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Elizabeth.
This is one of my favorite looks of all time. And I was able to get some information for this look from the podcast Crew Chats created by Poonam. And in episode 38, she talks to John and his wife Anne about their unique careers. And while he doesn't go in depth about the mummy, one part he does talk about is Anck Su Namun's look, because this is mostly just body paint and like a little like loincloth. And originally she was completely topless, like no pasties, like all exposed, everything exposed. And that's how it was until the last minute. He got a call from an executive at Universal and he was like, her nipples have to be covered. So he was like, okay, which I think it's like a PG-13 film. So like Yeah. Right. They were like, what, you want us to have an R rating over something inconsequential? No, sir.
I can imagine the Universal executive who's like in his studio apartment smoking a cigarette, just watching tapes. And then he was like, whoa. Like, probably took a drag and choked. He's like, what the hell is that? Someone get John Bloomfield on the phone. Stat.
Right. So last minute, he made these impromptu pasties out of leather they had lying around, which, like, now that I know that, if you look at the photos, you can see it.
You can see it.
Yeah. But for years, I wondered, like, how did they do this? Because, like, it, like, really, because she's painted gold, they really, like, blend in.
Yeah.
And for years, I was like, I wonder, like, was it, like, a latex, some sort of, like, plastic something that just formed to her body? And it's like, no, just some pasties and paint.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say this because the spell that this scene has had on my mind and probably America's minds is so strong. I've never actually, I mean, you blew my mind when you said this is body paint. For some reason, I thought I was looking at like a mesh fabric that was making like this V shape. So my mind's really having a hard time catching up right now. But yeah, I guess I just never focused on what was happening in the chest area. Yeah. But now that you say it, like, there's definitely pasties there. I've just never seen them before. I guess I just imagine it was all like blended in gold, you know, like when you see like the street performers are all decked out in gold or silver.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I feel like it would not have been much different if she didn't have the pasties.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there would not have been a huge difference, but the way he was just able to make those blend, like, brilliant.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So she is wearing like a loincloth though. So the bottom part is costume. And there's that moment where like Imhotep touches her skin and it like rubs off. So it's a plot point. So it's not coming back to me. I feel like this is the first time watching a film with like a sober mind where I'm looking for like actual like details.
That's how the king knew somebody touched her.
Yeah.
Which I was like, if I was the king, I'd be like, oh, are you okay? Did you fall?
Right.
Like,
no, he immediately was like, who the hell touched you?
Yeah. I always think it's so funny how he just walks in and is like, what the fuck?
I know, he's pissed. She's ready to kill him immediately. It's a lot of drama.
Yeah. And I like the way this like never made sense to me, and this time I was like, oh my gosh, this is so toxic, when she's like, you're the only person who can bring me back to life, and I'm like, you shouldn't trust your boyfriend to resurrect you.
Yeah, this is real.
like
I would never trust someone off of Bumble or Hinge to bring me back.
No, like, so much can go wrong, girl. You should have thrown him under the bus.
Yeah, I get you. This original love triangle was very toxic and not a good situation. Anyways,
what was awesome?
God, how long has this podcast been already?
I don't know. What was also a big ask was all of the extras in this film. I could not get an exact number, but it was, from what I could find, it seemed like they had like a couple hundred. And that's just a lot of work. And John is quoted in filmscouts.com. He talked about the Giza port sequence and is quoted in filmscouts.com saying, when we filmed the Giza port sequence at Chatham Docks, we had hundreds of costumed extras. With that sort of situation, you're looking for an ensemble, something that will fit in completely and sell the idea that you are really there. We wanted costumes that weren't too obtrusive so that they would always blend into the background nicely, but ones that had an interesting mix. And I gotta say, what he said about the costumes for the extras blending into the background, like, he really does that through the whole film. Yeah. Like, there's a very, like, solid, very little variation for the extras, which I also like with Imhotep's priests, who are all also painted gold and have like very muted colors. Like when you see them like down, like when they're about to resurrect Anck Su Namun, they like it makes like a beautiful scene with them all coming down, but they really do like mix into the rest and let him and his like amazing black flowing coat to just like really take center stage. And I would say like that's not a noticeable thing, but something that was done extremely well in this film.
Yeah, I think he does a great job at creating like a really immersive film. You know, none of the costumes, at least in the extras or the background, really like take your eye, and it just makes it feel believable, which I think with a film like this, especially in 1999, is kind of hard to do, but felt believable, which is why, and it feels timeless in a way where I still feel like it adds to the true reason why we love this film, is it just stands the test of time. And I think that has to do with the immersion and the ability to let the costumes take a backseat when they need to.
Absolutely. Who was not taking a backseat in this movie, though, was the Americans.
Man, the 90s really loved their like squad of Americans that just make a lot of noise and are dressed like cowboys.
Right. I love them. They're so like stereotypical of like who they are. And then you have like this like British like archaeologist who is like, oh yeah, that's what you think of when you think of a British archaeologist who's like, oh, what do women know?
Yeah.
I know everything.
I feel like it reminds me of the crew from Bram Stoker's Dracula also too. Like when they go to the party and there's just like this crew of Americans are just like spinning their guns and wearing cowboy hats. Like it was very much this, but I mean, I love the American characters in this film though. They're pretty funny. They're
so funny. Especially Mr. Burns. Poor Mr. Burns. He's one of my favorite secondary characters of all time because like I think this man was just here to have a good time, and he went out in like the worst way possible.
Yeah, he does not enjoy a lovely death. I mean, I like them all. They're all funny. But I felt bad for all of them. But I mean, how many times did we have to say, don't open that chest or book? Like you will get your body parts chewed up by a mummy, and they still love to push the envelope. So
I mean, Evie didn't believe in fairy tales and hokum, Spencer. Which I cannot express how much I love Evelyn, played by Rachel Weisz. She is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, you have Evie written all over you since the day I've met you, and I just knew that one day this day would come. When I think of you, I think of librarian Evie. She has like that black and white striped shirt. She has like a handkerchief. She loves her books. A little bumbly though. I mean, she did tear up the entire library, but it was an accident. And she looked cute when she did it. She did. And
you know, I've destroyed some things in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not the most graceful person on the face of the planet, so I feel that.
Yeah, let's talk about Evie. I mean, I have to agree with you. Rachel Weisz's performance as Evie, it's just one of the best. She just plays this heroine that's just so lovely, so lovable. Smart. She's so smart. She leads the charge in a lot of this. She does also awaken a mummy, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. Because she also leads the charge to get rid of said mummy. I don't know. I just feel like she's like
she takes responsibility heroes. For her actions.
That's right. She does. She like, fesses up to her mistake.
Yeah, she's like, I know I fucked up. We can handle this.
Who hasn't woken up a mummy every once in a while? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It's so good.
It's so good. I love her costume because we go from like Egypt, which is like clearly a fairy tale version of Egypt. Like,
yeah,
heavily inspired, but like not historically accurate whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Into the 1920s, and it feels very real. Like, she looks time period appropriate. It feels right. It looks right every single time. And you don't think about it. You're like, oh, this is a 1920s woman who is trying her best to like make her own way. Mm-hmm. But like these men around her will not take her seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's such a great character. One of my favorite costumes will always be her librarian look.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like such an iconic look. She just looks so great. We also include some pictures from the Universal Archives, once again, just seeing them up close. I just love the color palette. It just works. It just feels very studious and very intelligent, but then also still feels very, she loves Egyptian archaeology or Egyptology. That's what she loves. And she loves, she's a student of history. She's always learning. It's just such iconic look. When I went to the movies, when I went with Natalie, we also went with Natalie's friend Ashley, and you could follow her on Instagram at Whimsy with Ashley. She actually wore this librarian look by Evie that I believe she made. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, this is such an iconic look. Like, I just love seeing it, and I love that people resonate with this look. It's a good one.
Absolutely. Who also has some good looks? We have Rick O'Connell.
The man.
And I could only find one quote, unfortunately, from filmscouts.com about Mr. Rick O'Connell. John said, "In a way, it's unusual because there's no way a guy would go around with shoulder holsters like that. But for me, it just sells the story."
Yeah. I mean, O'Connell's constantly dressed like he's going to war.
Yeah.
But like, no one's complaining. We all love it. This guy always just looks like a hero,
Yeah.
If I were to teach a class on designing costumes for heroes, I would have like a giant poster of Rick O'Connell.
Right. Be like, 1920s archaeology hero.
Yeah. But like he's an American, and there's elements of him that still feel very American. The gun holsters to me on his shoulders feel very American, and the arm bracers, the scarf he wears, it all feels very American to me. So he just kind of fits in a way, but he still blends in with the surroundings around him. It's a great costume. I mean, it's Brendan Fraser as Rick O'Connell. Yeah. Like, what else is there to say?
There's not much.
Not much.
You know who will absolutely also be on your hero poster for this class, Spencer? Ardith Bay.
Man, I love this character. I just think that the guardians that protect the tomb so people don't accidentally awaken a mummy who brings the plagues upon the earth, I think they're so cool. It just sucks that they're like the enemies for the first half of the film.
Yeah.
But once you meet Ardith Bay, I mean, he's easily one of my favorite film characters of all time. I always go back to this guy. They wear all black. They have tattoos. He's great with a sword, and suddenly he walks around with the biggest machine gun you could ever think of. Like, even his horse is cool. Everything about this guy is cool.
Absolutely. And honestly, like I think my favorite part of the movie is when Evie's like, this whole mummy situation isn't really worth it. Like, does it really justify killing people to keep him from rising? And they're both like, yeah, it does. Have you not seen what he did outside? Like, so you know what? I don't blame them for anything they did in the first half of the movie. Yeah,
I mean, it feels like they're going above and beyond in the first half of the movie with the amount of people, like sinking that ship with all the people on it. But then you see that like plague of people saying Imhotep. I'm like, all right, they had a point.
Yeah. They really should have just shot Rick at the beginning of the movie.
If we're being real, we should have had Rick and Evie on target list number one. But we hate to say it, but
Ardith, he did one bad move at the beginning. The desert did not kill.
Yeah, that's so true.
So true.
The real enemies of the real villains of the film are Rick and Evie, but sometimes you love a villain.
Sometimes you do, and sometimes there's someone who you think is a villain who's just super hot and wearing an extremely beautiful, fully black outfit who you're like, oh no, you're here to be my hero. Okay.
Yeah. And it's so funny because our pictures trying to look at him, it's so black so you can't really see the details, but also his machine gun is so big you can't even see the details of his costume. But
it's definitely hard to see the details for this one.
But I just know that I love it because every time I see it on screen, I'm like, yeah, that's the guy.
I was very excited though recently. Oded Fair, who plays Ardith. I've been watching Star Trek Discovery, and I'm watching the last season. And there's this character. I'm like, why does this person look so familiar? When I'm doing the research for this, it's him.
No way. That's good. I didn't realize he was still showing up in things. But that's awesome.
I've seen like most of them. Especially like in TV throughout the years.
But another all black look that I love is probably one of my favorite costumes also of all time. I don't know. There's a lot of all timers in this film. Is Evie's like black look with the veil that she just walks away for 5 minutes and comes back with this drop dead Met Gala look that you're just like, Evie, are you trying to kill me? You look amazing.
Right? She's like, oh, I almost drowned in a river, and now I'm just like walking out of this tent looking incredible. Because I feel like Evie's the kind of woman who's like, I want to look nice, but I don't know what to do. So I'm going to walk into a store and ask the sales associate, like, what I should put on. So I think Evie walked into this tent with some money and was like, please dress me. And the ladies were like, oh, yes, we got you, girl.
Sure, girl, we'll hook you up. They also she probably like held out her money so they know how much she had. And they probably looked around and were like, all right, like, I got you.
We can make this work.
And they gave her like this like very expensive looking outfit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just when I have the same reaction every time that like Rick O'Connell has when he sees Evie in this look and he's just like, damn. I mean, I get it. It's such a good costume. The veil, though, and the beading is just so intricate and beautiful. It gets me every time.
Yeah. And I love it because this is definitely a costume where you can see like, okay, he modernized it a little bit. Because like in real life, it would not be that sheer or that like closely tailored to her body.
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to be a garment to protect you from the sun.
It's a good point.
Not look all sexy in, but he was like, she's got to look good. And he did what he had to do to make that work.
He did the research. He hears all of your thoughts on the research. He doesn't care. He wanted to make Rachel Weisz look good.
You know what I also took from, especially this look where she has the veil, because you can like see her makeup really well. And I was like, ooh, should I do more like Evie makeup? And like apparently you can look up like tutorials online. People like will do an Evie to makeup tutorial. And apparently there is like a lot of debate about her eyebrows. Oh. Which like they are historically accurate to the period. Also, anyone who grew up in the 2000s, that like this is what you were trying to get, unfortunately. I was so relieved that by the time, like, I had to deal with anything to do with my eyebrows, like, the tide had turned. Because I watched so many women, like, pluck their eyebrows into oblivion. So, like, don't hate on her eyebrows. It was historically accurate and just a trend at the time.
It was historically accurate. It was It was the right thing to do.
Current trends.
Current
in the
trend.
World.
And Evie pulled it off. I'm sorry. So it is what it is. I get it. I'm going to go watch some Evie makeup tutorials after this, honestly.
Right? I was shocked. I was like, oh, because it's very simple. It's like nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But no, you can look it up. And you know what else I'm excited for, Spencer?
What are you excited for, Elizabeth?
I am excited because we've come to the end of the film, which means we can also watch it again and play our favorite game.
I'm so excited. I'm nervous. I've been thinking about this for a while now, but let's take a little break and we'll get into it.
Hi, this is Dan, audio engineer of the podcast, here to let you know that if you wanted to support the show, you can head over to theartofcostume.com/podstore. There you can buy some awesome TeePublic merch with the podcast logo, such as a shirt, coffee mug, stickers, and of course, a baby onesie. Thanks for all your support.
Elizabeth, I am so glad that we finally got to talk about The Mummy. I love this movie, and I don't want this episode to end, but like you said, we don't have too many facts, which means it's time to play our favorite game. Are you ready?
I am ready, Spencer.
Let's do it. Hit it, Daniel.
The one costume to rule them all.
Okay, so this was a hard one, and I feel like my one costume rule them all has changed a little bit since our conversation.
Oh. So
I'm going to stick with my original idea, which was Evie's black veiled look. It is just a iconic costume. She looks amazing. Like you said, maybe it's not historically accurate, but like she's just like the woman of the hour.
Yeah.
She is the ultimate heroine. It's just flawless. It's perfect. I love it. I love the beating on it. There's a lot of like intricate details to it. And it's just like, I just don't even know what to say about it. It's just so stunning, beautiful. And if I were to see this costume in real life, I would also bow down to it. And if it's destroyed, I would find the Book of the Dead or Book of Life or whatever to bring it back to Earth because it is gorgeous.
Resurrecting a costume. I mean, that's an excellent choice. It really is. It is top tier. It is fantastic. And it's one of the costumes I think about when I think about The Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
The costume I think about most, though, which is my one costume to rule them all, is Anck Su Namun's.
Yeah.
The body paint. Like, I don't know why, but I just sound like the whole process of him just like throwing together these nipple covers to be like so fascinating. And it's like the fact that she's barely wearing a costume, but the fact that you just kind of like the fact that like in our minds, we were just thinking like, oh yes, this is a costume, not like, oh, this is body paint. Mm-hmm. Like that's a beautiful like joining of two departments, which like costume, hair, and makeup, like they are like in it together every single time. But this is just such a beautiful mix of those three departments. Like it's seamless, it's gorgeous, it's iconic. I love it.
I gotta agree with you. Honestly, this was also my one costume to rule them all, but realizing that it's like 15% costume now, I just felt like I couldn't rationalize it with myself. But it is one of the most iconic looks from this film, like hands down. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Elizabeth, I am so happy we did The Mummy. I can't believe it's over. Like happened just like that. I've been anticipating it for like 3-4 weeks now.
I know. I know. Like you were like, oh, it's going to be the 25th anniversary. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, and I was excited because I had never seen it in theaters before. Mm-hmm. And we were like, well, clearly it's time to do an episode.
No time like the present.
Yeah. No time like the present, unless you have a boyfriend to bring you back from the dead.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Elizabeth, this was fun, even without not so many facts, but you know, we had a good time, and I hope everyone at home also had a good time. I think The Mummy is just, you know, that film that I feel like most people could agree is just like an A+ film. I've never met someone who doesn't like The Mummy. So thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed. With that, Elizabeth, we have some great stuff coming up, including an episode that I believe we have quite a bit of facts. Elizabeth,
yes.
What are we watching next?
I am so excited. We are watching one of our favorite current shows on TV. This week, we have watched The Gilded Age Season 2.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've been teasing this episode probably all season long.
Yeah.
Since January.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think that's when we first recorded this episode, was back in January.
Yeah. Man, I'm excited. I love The Gilded Age. Season 2 just raised the bar. And many of you have messaged us, emailed us, left comments asking for The Gilded Age Season 2. And without spoiling anything, I'll just say we delivered on a pretty dope episode. So
yeah,
get ready for that. In the meantime, don't forget to leave us a voicemail at 626-515-1826 if you want to tell us what your one costume ruled them all was from The Mummy. It was probably Imhotep or Anck Su Namun or Evie. That's fine. Let us know. And remember, we don't answer the phone either. So if your social anxiety is keeping you from picking up that phone, don't worry. No one's going to answer a phone. Just leave your voicemail. You could also email us at theartofcostume@gmail.com as well. As I mentioned earlier, you could also watch the Art of Costume podcast on YouTube as well. We release episodes every Wednesday, so check us out on Tuesday on the podcast per usual. And then if you want some extra visuals like those mummy ones today from the Universal Archives, watch tomorrow on YouTube, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram at the Art of Costume Pod, TikTok at the Art of Costume. It's starting to get hot outside. If you plan on going on any tomb dives or whatever archaeologists do, I mean, I wouldn't suggest tomb diving. That's actually probably bad and prohibited.
Yeah, but please don't do that. please don't go in. Only go where people want you in other countries when performing archaeology.
If you go on any legally sound archaeology digs, consider wearing a t-shirt from the Art of Costume podcast at the Art of Costume pod /pod.
Why was that so funny?
I don't know. Sorry. I'm just imagining like
like can you imagine trying to like jump?
Can you imagine if like one of our followers was like digging in a tomb with like a t-shirt on of ours? Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Daniel. And as always, if you liked what you listened to, please leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts or rate us on Spotify. It really does help us get noticed.
Yes.
So we could join our growing costume nerd cult /family.
Yes. Definitely a family, not a cult. Nothing to worry about here.
Nothing to worry about.
Have a wonderful week.
Elizabeth, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Spencer.
Imhotep.
Imhotep.
The Art of Costume podcast is hosted and produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams. Our audio engineering and editing is done by Dan White. Follow us on TikTok at The Art of Costume and Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod. If you want to support the show, go to theartofcostume.com/podstore. For more podcast updates, costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, go to theartofcostume.com, a blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.
Sorry, I didn't mean it when I said I was like, why? I should just use words. I forget I'm on a podcast sometimes.
No, you're fine. I was a little confused, but I was like, I think Spencer just forgot where we were.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to you, you know?
Yeah, that's
like we're just chatting,
same.
And then my eyes kind of like scroll down and I see my mic. I'm like, fuck.
And poor Daniel's being like, are they just talking? Are they just having a life conversation right now?
I'm sorry, Daniel. You can put this in the bloopers if you want.